listening to the Zone Coverage Football Show, where opinions, passion, and pride are always on the line. Live from Tees Towers, here's your host, Mark Tees.
Hello, and welcome along to the Zone Coverage Football Show, Episode 2. I've decided to title this one Week 1, Pre-Season. No, not Week 1. Week 1 of the pre-season is in the bag. Coming up on today's show, I'm going to sort of debut a few features that I want to make regular. I've got one called the Hot Route. That's going to be like the question of the week for you guys, so you can ring in on that. I'll give you the number to that in a minute. I've also come up with another little feature called the Blitz Package. It's basically just going to be some headlines from around the league from these past 7 days. But before we get into that, let's give a little info on the show. Christ, put my teeth back in. Bit of a rush today, yeah. I had a mad panic putting everything together these last few moments, but I feel that we've got there in the end. Right then, if you're listening to the show, thank you. If it's your first time, welcome aboard. Where were you last week? Now, joking aside, go back, check that out. That is on... What's that on now? Oh my god, mine goes blank. iTunes, Stitcher Radio. Search Zone Coverage Football Show. You will find us all there. Right then, listening live, you should be via the TuneIn app or the Spreaker app. I did have a message last week saying the Spreaker app was a bit iffy at times. If that's still an issue, could someone let me know? And the more feedback and info I get from you guys, the better I can make the show. It would help if I calmed down, relaxed, and just chilled a little bit, wouldn't it? Off to a reckless start. I've got paper scattered everywhere and all sorts today. It's a mess. Right then, so that's listening live out of the way. Listening back, I mentioned just, but we'll recap that. Spreaker, no, yeah, you can actually listen back via Spreaker. iTunes, do us a favour on iTunes. Go there, leave comments, be good or bad. If you don't like the show, you don't like the show. If you like it, let us know. Spread the word and all that. Talking of spreading the word, who is segueing? I'm on a roll now. Spreading the word. Twitter at Zone Coverage FS. Facebook page. We do have a Facebook page. I'm a little poor at updating on that, but I'll improve that as we go along. Failing all that, you want to know anything about me, about the show, why it started, and all the episodes, and links to live, links to listening back, that is all on the website. That is www.zonecoveragefootballshow.com. As I said last week, I'm going to regret massively making that title so big. Right then, we'll get into this. The Hot Route, I do have a sounder for this, so I have done a little bit of research, so fingers crossed this does work on my funky new sound effect for the Hot Route.
Check, round Richmond, 96 double! Check, I want a player, Round Richmond, 96 double!
Fingers crossed that worked, or you've just endured 13 seconds of absolute silence. If you have, my apologies. Let me know if that works even. Alright then, the Hot Route question of the week this week is, what was your main takeaway from week 1 of the pre-season? Plenty of hot talking points from around the league. The Pats started Ryan Mallett. They've put him on the trade block, so to speak. Was that your main take? Matt Schaub's absolutely stunk for the Raiders, from what I can gather. Was it Nick Foles threw 2 picks in 13 games last season? Threw 2 picks in a game so far this week. That's the Hot Route question of the day. The number you guys will need for that is 0161 818 4593. That is 0161 818 4593. Failing that, you can get me on Skype as well at TeeSmister. That's TEECE. So once again, the Hot Route, which is the question of the week. What was your main takeaway from week 1 of the pre-season? Right then, moving on. We'll move on to, actually, before we get into moving on, Huddle Magazine, Tom from Huddle Magazine was on the show last week. If you've listened to that, he set a competition that involved a bit of retweeting. Pretty straightforward, really, and Tom was kind enough to give away, 5 copies of the latest issue of Huddle Magazine. You can find them on Twitter at Huddle Magazine. Also go to their website, which is huddlemagazine.com. The winners from the competition, they've all been mentioned on Twitter and that, and as far as I'm aware, you guys have been back in touch with those, but I shall read the names anyway, just in case you've missed it. Right, here we go. Any mispronunciations here? apologies in advance. I'm not the best at reading from any form, paper, internet, whatever, as you'll tell by the random stumbling that you will endure throughout the course of this. Right then, names we have Tom Langley, Paul Sigsworth, James Grummett, Ben Adams and Ben Loveday. They all won a copy of Huddle magazine. So first and foremost, thanks to Huddle and Tom for coming on and sharing that with us, and for you guys for entering and enjoy your copy of Huddle magazine. Right then, we shall move on. That's a quick 5 minutes gone. The Blitz package, some headlines. 49ers guard Alex Boone is still holding out, and it's believed to be a number of teams are looking to trade for him. None of these teams have been mentioned as yet, so as you can imagine, speculation on who and what will be offered is gathering on those. Also, a bizarre incident here. Vikings defensive tackle Levon Joseph was shot in the thigh. He was in a nightclub after the game the other night, and innocent bystander. He was not up to anything bad. Still in a nightclub after the game. Can you let your hair down? Well, yeah, I suppose you can, but you know what the people are like. Someone will be happy, someone will be unhappy. There's no pleasing everyone. Anyway, I stray from the story. It was a stray bullet and a shooting that hit him in the thigh, and from what I understand, he is okay. Also, what do we have that caught my attention this past week? Dolphin safety. Rashad Jones was suspended for 4 games for violating their performance-enhancing policy. Not good. Dolphins' roll of shame sort of continues, really. Deion Jordan was suspended a few weeks ago now, I believe. I was sort of hoping they'd moved on from all the bad sort of press that surrounded them over the course of last season with the Jonathan Martin and Richie Incognito scandal, but we'll put that on the back burner for now. Also, a bit more Dolphins news. They've hired former Jets GM Mike Tannenbaum. He's been hired as a consultant. Also, what else did I see? Giants running back. I don't know if anyone saw this, but you would have seen it. Yeah, David Wilson, running back. He'd suffered an injury last year on his neck. I think he'd had some sort of surgery. He'd come back in practice, I believe it was, got a bit of a stinger in his neck. He's been advised by doctors to pretty much call it a day on his career, which he did do. And if you've not seen this speech, honestly, go and track it down on the internet. Very, very good, very honest, and quite heartbreaking, really. He said, like, sort of along the lines of, please don't feel sorry for him. He's got to live a dream he's dreamt since he's been a small child, and he's looking forward to the next chapter in his life. So we'll wish him all the best with all of that. So that is there's been a load of news, to be honest. There'll be a lot that I've missed, and you'll probably pull me up on that, and feel free to do so on Twitter at ZoneCoverageFS. Right then, moving on, what shall we go to? Week 1 of pre-season. That is in the bag. So what happened during week 1? I've got a few notes, give out the scores and a few takeaways from that. The majority of teams, they sort of left out the main guys, either sat them out or they were in for a series or two. So for me, going back to the hot route, which you guys are, please call in 01618184593, your main takeaways from week 1. Mine was trying not to read too much into what you saw, but in some cases it's going to be damn difficult. Right now, moving on. Where were we? Colts lost to the Jets 13-10. Andrew Luck was just in for the one drive, completed 4 of 5 passes for 53 yards. T.Y. Hilton reeled in 3 receptions for 38 yards. In the so-called quarterback vittle, I'm one step ahead of myself here. Quarterback battle involving Michael Vick and Geno Smith. It's been a long day, folks. Bear with me. Geno started off 4 of 6 passes he completed for 33 yards. Michael Vick was in for a touchdown drive, which everyone sort of raved about, forgetting the fact that most of those yards came via a series of penalties. He was, in fact, 3 for 6 for 17 yards, a couple of scrambles. He was against the first and the second. As usual, the Jets media are reading way much into this and making a story out of nothing. That is something I will be ranting about on my other show, the Jet Pond podcast, later on tonight. So catch that. That's on iTunes and all that, but that's another show and we won't go into that too much. Moving on, the Ravens beat the 49ers 23-3. Joe Flacco looked impressive. Dull as ever, I would imagine, but he looked impressive from what I've been reading. Where is it now? Yeah. Completed 4 or 5 passes, 52 yards. Colin Kaepernick also drove his team 66 yards, resulting in a field goal. Ray Rice, yes, the Ray Rice. I should have had a boo sound effect in here. Ray Rice, wow. Ray Rice, the alleged emphasis on that wife beater, was in as well. He had 3 carries, 17 yards. So both groups of starters are only in for the one series. Moving on, I mentioned at the top of the show, takeaway wise, this involves the Patriots. They lost to the Redskins 23-6 with Ugg-wearing Tom Brady. He sat out for this game as the Pats sort of like, they're trying to showcase Ryan Mallett. He's out of contract at the end of the year. And with him going, good old Bill, he's trying to get a little something for him via a late round pick, 2 or 3, whatever. But he was less than inspiring, so to say. He completed 5 of 12 passes for 55 yards. RG3 was in for the little as well. Completed 2 or 4 passes, 9 yards. Rookie, Jimmy, I'm going to get this wrong. I'm just going to call him Jimmy G. I don't fancy taking on this name. I've already stumbled and made quite an idiot of myself today. Anyway, Jimmy G, he completed 8 of 12 passes for 141 yards. And while we're on the subject of backup, Kirk Cousins completed 9 of 13 for 103 yards. In what was pretty much highlight game of Thursday night's preseason games, the Bengals and Chiefs had a bizarre shootout, which resulted in the Chiefs edging out the Bengals 41-39. Chiefs capitalising on 3 turnovers for 21 points. DeAnthony Thomas returned a punt for 80 yards. Go, I can't emphasise enough to NFL.com. There's little highlight videos, about 2 or 3 minutes long, on NFL.com. Go on there and watch all the highlights back. That's definitely one worth checking out. Andy Dalton coming off his big contract deal, which, by the way, everyone sort of went crazy about that. It's only a couple of year deal and it's friendly for everyone. Moving on, he completed 3 of 5 for 71 yards. I can't read my own writing. That's never good. Right then. Yeah, Jason Campbell come in for after Andy Dalton. He completed 6 of 15 for 72 yards, 2 TDs, 2 picks. And Alex Smith, for those interested, he completed 3 of 5 for 19 yards. This brings us on swiftly to a rematch. Yes, a rematch. Seahawks and Broncos. Yeah, don't get too excited. Because nothing happened basically apart from a 46-minute lightning delay, followed by 25 penalty flags in what was an absolute drab affair from what I can gather. Peyton Manning completed 10 of 13 pass attempts for 78 yards. Russell Wilson, 4 of 6 for 37. Demaryius Thomas reeled in 5 for 52. Manning wasn't sacked. Russell Wilson was twice. So that was that, really. Not a lot going. I've just got notes here. Just having a quick read on me Twitter. A few people messaging me as we go. Nothing of vast importance, but yeah, going back to the hot route. Ring in, guys. Who are we now? We're 15 minutes in normally. Your takeaways of the week. You don't have to ring in about takeaways of the week. Anything on your mind, whatever. Hit up the show 0161 818 4593. Tweet me. I'm sort of rambling on here, as I've got a lot of stuff today. Right then, back to pre-season week 1. I've just done the Seahawks and the Broncos. Moving on, the Cowboys lost 27-7 to the Chargers. Tony Romo sat this one out sensibly as well. What's wrong with Jerry Jones and the Cowboys making sensible decisions of late? He sat out. Instead, Brandon Whedon completed 13 of 17 for 107 yards and a touchdown. And then the Chargers QBs come in, put on a bit of a display, really. Phillip Rivers, 4 of 4, 61 yards. Callan Clemens, 5 of 5 for 134 yards and a touchdown. Ryan Matthews, for those fantasy freaks, amongst you guys. Fumbled a few times last year, fumbled again during that game, so that's maybe something to keep an eye on as we progress throughout this pre-season. But again, don't get too excited and too angry and carried away at the moment. It is just pre-season. Ryan Tannehill, a lot expected of him this year. Moving on to the Dolphins game, by the way. They lost 16-10 to the Falcons. He completed all 6 of his passes for 62 yards, including a touchdown pass to Brandon Gibson. Matt Ryan was equally as efficient, completing all 7 of his attempts at 53 yards. That long drive resulted in a Jacquizz Rodgers 2-yard touchdown. Lamar Miller rushed for 11 yards from 4 carries. That's also someone pretty much under the spotlight. Regarding the backfield of the Dolphins, that's an area of concern from last year, so they're looking to address that going forward. Rookie Devontae Freeman had 10 rushes for 50 yards and one reception for 57 yards. I am rattling through these pretty quickly because, to be honest, unless you're like, I don't know, what's the phrase I'm looking for here? You can't read a great deal into these. There's not a lot that happened, and most of you focus on the first team starters, and they'll get more reps as we go through. But moving on, Bills-Panthers. Bills won this one, 2018. Cam Newton was rested. Again, he's coming off surgery, ankle surgery in the summer. EJ Manuel, 9 of 13 for 96 yards. Sammy Watkins, after a shutout against the Giants in the Hall of Fame game, he reeled in his first 3 passes of his NFL career for a total of 21 yards. And also, while I was mentioning the highlight reel stuff, go to NFL.com. Calvin Benjamin holding an amazing catch. I don't know if you've seen this. He collided with cornerback Stephen Gilmore, stumbling all over the place, juggled the ball, still manages to catch it, touchdown. Fantastic highlight stuff. So go and check that out. Right then, on to the Bucks and Jags. This was error number 1. Well, error about number 52 if you're keeping tabs. Bucks and Jags 10-16. I believe the Jags won that. I hope that's right. Anyway, Blake Bortles, relatively solid on his debut. 7 of 11 for 117 yards. However, Josh McCown threw a pick 6, lost a fumble, and was sacked twice as he completed just 2 of 4 passes for 20 yards. Mike Glennon come in, 11 of 19, 140 yards and a touchdown there. Not a great deal going on in that one. Again, a reminder of the hot route, takeaways, whatever. Ring in, guys, 0161 818 4593, or just tweet the show if you are in fact listening. Right, I've got a few tweets here. Yeah, we're all good for that. Right then, folks, moving on. Bears-Eagles. This was a 34-28 victory for the Chicago Bears. Nick Foles, I mentioned this, top of the show, threw 2 picks during this game. He completed 6 of his 9 passes for 44 yards. Before former Jet Mark Sanchez took over, apparently he played relatively okay, which brings me on to an absolute nightmare scenario with me being a Jets fan. The Eagles somehow get to the Super Bowl, Foles gets injured, and Sanchez, oh God, even thinking about it is painful, somehow inspires them to a victory. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, and fingers crossed that'll never happen. Anyway, Jay Cutler, he also looked relatively impressive during this encounter. He went 9 of 13 for 85 yards and a touchdown. The backup battle behind Cutler was very, very interesting, as Jordan Palmer and Jimmy Clausen both threw for over 100 yards and touchdowns. Titans also featured heavily in this one, as Zach Miller reeled in 6 for 68, 2 TDs, and the much hyped, another fantasy one for you guys here, Zach Ertz. He had 4 receptions for 60 yards as well. Right, that brings us on to the Raiders and the Vikings. Matt Castle, he was named the starter in this one. He led the team on a touchdown drive before Teddy the Gloved Wonder, that is his nickname from now on, the Gloved Wonder, Teddy Bridgewater, stepped in. Looked a little shaky. He completed 6 passes 6 of his 13 attempted passes, I should say, for 49 yards. And while we're on the subject of looking shaky, poor old Matt Schaub, this guy, I feel for him. He was, still the correct way of putting this, the polite way, I should say. He was abysmal last year, wasn't he? Yeah, he finished 3 of 7 for 21 yards, and all 3 series were 3 and outs. So the misery continues for Matt Schaub, I'm afraid, and Raiders fans, I feel for you. But there's a little light at the end of the tunnel. Derek Carr stepped in. He was 10 of 16 for 74 yards. Darren McFadden and MJD they were in for a series as well. Cordell Patterson of the Vikings, he had 3 receptions for 38 yards. A lot expected of him this year. Right then, moves us on nicely. Saints and Rams, 26-24. Both quarterbacks were rested for this one. Mark Ingram stole the show with 8 carries for 83 yards. Michael Sam also, he's battling away at camp. He had a solid debut from what I've been reading. He did okay. Both of the Rams' first rounders also started, Greg Robinson and Aaron Donald. And the standout really for the Saints, besides Mark Ingram, was Brandon Cooks, had reeled in 5 receptions for 55 yards and a touchdown. I got a good comment the other day actually about the Cleveland Browns and this quarterback. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. Some Johnny someone or other. I believe they call him Football. Anyway, we didn't mention him till about 30 odd minutes in, and that was apparently a new record. But I failed this week. We've gone nearly 20 minutes and now we've mentioned him. Anyway, I'm spewing out nonsense here. Hoyer and Manziel, and both failed to impress. I watched the highlights on this one out of curiosity. Besides his typical fancy footwork and escaping out of the pocket, I'd be very worried if I was a Browns fan for Johnny Manziel. You cannot dive head first for extra yards. You're going to get yourself killed. I think he did it about 2 or 3 times, and you're going to get your head taken off. You're not going to last long. These guys are a lot bigger, more physical, and they'll be looking to hurt you, Johnny. So slide. He did learn his lesson later on. I did see him sliding, but yeah, that's a concern. Brian Hoyer is coming off his injury, and that uninspiring from either of them, to be honest. Hoyer was 6 of 14 for 92 yards. Manziel, he completed 7 of 11 for 63 yards, 27 yards rushing as well. Right then, takes us on to the Steelers and Giants. Giants edged this one 2016. We mentioned David Wilson at the top of the show. It's believed that the Giants are going to lean heavily on the running game this year, and Rashard Jennings stole the show really with a shocking display by the Steelers defense. He went pretty much untouched to the house on a 73-yard touchdown. Both QBs really were uninspiring. Yeah, the Giants are concentrating on the running game, and good old Eli Manning in 4 series, he finished 0 for 2. Again, you could read that stat and go absolutely out of your mind, but again, they're looking to lean on this running game and that, so try not to read too much into it. As for Big Ben, he completed 1 of his 2 attempts of 46 yards. Le'Veon Bell finished the night with 3 rushes for 18 yards. We are towards the back, yes. 2 more games to go as my screen goes blank, which scared the life out of me then. I am still on, which is good. The Packers and Titans. That finished 2016 to the Packers. Rookie Zach Mettenberger overcome a pick and a fumble in the 4th quarter to inspire a 71-yard TD drive in a soaked affair. It was littered with 8 fumbles. No Eddie Lacy, no Aaron Rodgers. Again, another fantasy name that's been bandied about quite a lot over the past few weeks. Bishop Sankey. Christ, I don't know what's wrong with me today. I'm putting extra letters in, syllables, and missing them all out. It's a right mess. Bishop Sankey had 13 carries for 37 yards, and in the absence of Eddie Lacy, James Starks come in, 6 rushes, 49 yards, and a touchdown. And rounding us off, talking about people, fans that have suffered at the hands of poor quarterbacking, the Houston Texans were completely and utterly shut out by the Arizona Cardinals, who I imagine the hype train will be getting a little more steam behind itself, according to this one. Carson Palmer was 5 of 5 for 84 yards and a TD. Then rookie Logan Thomas come in for the entire second half. He was 11 of 12 for 113 yards and a touchdown. Ryan Fitzpatrick. Yes, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Being a Jets fan, I was going to say I've suffered at the hands of Fitzpatrick. I've suffered belly aching at the hands of Fitzpatrick from just sheer laughter. He signed a big contract with the Bills a couple of years ago. Sort of the wheels fell off his wagon. He's gone downhill ever since. He was awful, absolutely atrocious in this game, completing 6 of 14 of 55 yards, including 2 picks. No Arian Foster, no Andre Johnson, and an interesting fact here. I don't know if it's that interesting. If you're a Texans fan, you'll probably be screaming at your phone, whatever, however you're listening. The Texans, only graced the inside of the Cardinals' 30-yard line once. And you never guess what? That resulted in a pick. Hey. So, Texans fans, anyone out there, give us a call. 0161 818 4593. It is very, very quiet out there today, folks. Yes, we just got a message here via at J_Hussein. I know it's pre-season, but Houston have a problem. Awful quarterback play from Matt Schaub there. So yeah, that's perfect timing on that front. Right, that rounds up your pre-season games week 1. I shall move on week 2 for those interested. We have on Thursday Jags at the Bears, then on Friday Eagles at Pats, Titans at Saints, Lions at Raiders, Chargers at Seahawks. Saturday, the bulk of your fixtures here. Packers at Rams, Giants Colts, Jets at Bengals, Ravens Cowboys, Dolphins at the Bucks, Bills at the Steelers, Falcons at Texans, Cardinals at the Vikings. Sunday we then have the Denver Broncos at the 49ers, the Chiefs at the Panthers, and we finish off with the Cleveland Browns at the Washington Redskins. So that rounds us off nicely. I feel we've got a bit more news and info to you guys this week. I'm scanning my notes now as what I have to do. I all sorts of paper carnage going on here. Discard that one. Right then, I mentioned it last week. I was going to do the Not So Great 8, which is basically a complete flip of power rankings. As I mentioned last week, everyone loves power rankings and seeing who's top of those. But me being me, as you've probably picked up on by now, can be a little unorganised, a little erratic, and let's say a little different. So I've decided to list teams that I feel will prop up their division. I'm going wild. There's a few ones out there that they're not going to sit well, but it's going to create a little talking point. So hit us up, Twitter at Zone Coverage FS, Facebook and all that sort of malarkey. But yeah, here we go then. Who I feel will finish bottom of their respective divisions. I'm going to start off in... Where am I going to start here? Let's go the NFC West. I'm going the Rams here. Basically, it's a brutal division, and the 49ers are skating on thin ice. I've really considered them. They are struggling running back depth. Navarro Bowman still coming off injury. I'm not convinced by their corners. They got Alden Smith. He's possibly suspension coming up. They're skating thin ice, but I see the Cards improving massively. But it's the St. Louis Rams here, and sorry Rams fans. And also a little disclaimer here. I'm going to mention teams throughout. There's no malice against any of these teams. It's nothing personal. It's just my view. And if you think my view's crazy, wrong, then just let me know and we'll discuss. I'm happy to do that. Well, there's no malice. I'm not coming after anyone. It's just how I feel, and I'll try and validate my reasons if I can. So right then, NFC West, I've gone for the Rams. Basically, it boils down to the quarterback play. Sam Bradford is coming off torn ACL. I'm not overly convinced. I think the Rams bottled it by just not. They had the opportunity to pick a new quarterback in this year's draft. Bottled it. I understand that they've brought some great new players on board and that, but they're on the hook for. I can't remember the figures, but they're paying Bradford an awful lot of money this year. They could have cut the losses, had a bit more money salary cap wise, and invested that elsewhere, but instead they're going to live or die by the arm of Sam Bradford. Also, Brian Schottenheimer. I'm not convinced by Brian Schottenheimer. His playing calling, it's very, very predictable, and I'll recommend you guys a book now, Collision Low Crosses by Nicholas Davidoff. It chronicalized. Anyway, basically, it follows the Jets season. I think it was 2011, possibly. I forget the season, but it's a good insight into that there. And also, Browns fans, it's a must-read for you because you'll fall in love with Mike Pettin even more. Nothing but high praise for him. But yeah, Brian Schottenheimer basically installing these overcomplicated. What's the word I'm looking for now? Complex schemes and stuff, and the Jets at one point brought in Tom Moore to oversee things, and he's like, look, basically just scale things down. The system's too complicated. You can't let the quarterback go out there like this and play with it. His mind full. He needs to be clear, simple, so he can focus on the job in hand. But yeah, Brian Schottenheimer, not Marty, Brian, offensive coordinator there. He doesn't convince me at all. Sam Bradford, but that's where it lies with, just at the fact the toughness of that division as well. On the plus though, the Rams defense, I don't know, I think I mentioned this last week. I have got Robert Quinn down for Defensive Player of the Year already. He was phenomenal last year, and I expect him to carry on in that sort of vein, really. I'm just scanning through my notes here. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Rams, you're propping up the West, so any different on that, hit me up, let me know. Zone coverage FS 0161 818 4593. Right then, we go to the NFC South. This one's a balls to the walls sort of approach, I feel here, which I feel has been justified. I wrote this a couple of weeks ago now, didn't get around to it last week, but yeah, the Panthers for me is too easy a pick. Everyone's going to focus in on the Panthers and all that. Yeah, he's got no weapons, good old Cam hasn't. Steve Smith's gone, dodgy ankle, blah de blah de blah. But yeah, what I'm going for here, the inconsistency of the wide receiver department for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yes, gasp in sheer horror. I'm going the Bucs to prop up the division. Why, you might ask? Well, for one, they're putting an awful lot of pressure on the first round picks, Mike Evans and second round pick Austin Seferian-Jenkins. Those two guys, how often do rookie receivers come into the league and light it up? I understand that you're probably going to throw a load of names at me here, there and everywhere, but yeah, doesn't happen all the time. Usually it takes a year or so to bed in. Also, Josh McGowan, last year, absolutely unbelievable. He pretty much played Jay Cutler off the park when he came in. But yeah, as justified, he was awful the other day. A couple of picks and that. So yeah, I'm not overly convinced by Josh McGowan, if I'm honest. Doug Martin and Bobby Rainey, yeah, they've got a decent backfield. One of the best additions I feel that the Bucs did have was free agent corner Altron Werner. I think he's one of the most underrated corners in the league at the moment. He was a good pickup. Got a new head coach and that. For me, it's too easy pick the Panthers. So I like being awkward and a pain in the ass, as the wife would verify. But yeah, I'm going with the Bucs to prop up the South here. Alright then, so where are we? I went to NFC West, out the way, NFC South, out of the way. Let's go with the NFC North. For me, this division, it's just hard to pick a winner as it is to pick someone that's going to prop this division up. But I said that the Panthers pick was too easy. The Vikings pick is too easy here, but I'm sorry. But the rest of the teams just simply possess too much explosiveness on their offense to make a case, really. Lions and everyone. Oh, we have a phone number. Hello? Someone rang and put the phone down. Whoever that was, give us a ring back, please. Scared the life out of me then. 0161 818 4593. You jumped up and went. It does say an unknown number, so I don't even know who that was. Oh, we're ringing again. We are ringing. Hello?
Hello.
Hello, who's this?
It's Colm here from Overtime Ireland.
Oh, hey Colm, how are you?
How's it going?
I'm very well, thanks. How's things?
Doing good.
Good man. What can I do for you?
I just wanted in listening into the show and just thought I'd have a wee ring in and talk some NFL with you.
Yeah, that sounds good to me, mate. What's on your mind? What can I do you for?
I watched last night the highlights of the game. Johnny Manziel, obviously, I thought some of the listeners would be interested in him as a talking point, but I was quite impressed with how he played last night. Did you get to see the game last night?
I've seen the highlights. It's one of them. Yesterday I had a bit of a busy day. I'm sort of doing this thing now on a Saturday. I'm spending a bit of quality time with the wife, so it frees me up for the football talk on a Sunday, forward planning and all that.
Yeah.
So, no, but I did catch the highlights this morning, and I mentioned earlier about him diving head first. For the extra yard.
That was one of the worrying points, I would imagine.
Yeah, that for me, it was kind of scary, to be honest. I don't like that. But no, I'll let you go. What was your take on Manziel and the Browns?
No, it's just I'm always interested to get other people's thoughts on him. Obviously, there's been a lot of coverage of him this off-season, and I just wanted to see what the thoughts were. Obviously, on Twitter, it's kind of a bit of an overreaction maybe today, and already installing him as the starter for week 1. But I think a lot of people, talking over the last few weeks, and that he hadn't been, picking up things in training camp and so on, didn't look, as impressive as some people might have thought he was going to be. And I think once he got onto the field, he was going to provide a little bit of excitement. And overall, he made some mistakes, and there's a long way to go in his development. But one thing that you have to say is he definitely was exciting, and I'm sure any of the Browns fans that are listening and were watching the game last night probably, get a few goosebumps as they get excited watching him playing.
Yeah, for me, when he was flushed out of the pocket and he was running around, I was genuinely excited. That's the sort of Johnny football that we've come to know, love or hate. But yeah, one other thing that I did pick up on, he was rifling the ball in.
Yeah, lots of pace behind it.
Yeah, that was a good plus, because obviously he knows the window within the NFL is a lot tighter. Those DBs are all over you. So for me, when he did decide to throw the ball, that was a massive plus. That was probably the main takeaway that I got.
Yeah, well, everyone kind of obviously is expecting him to be able to do what he does outside of the pocket. That was what I was looking more forward to seeing, was what he would do when he stood in the pocket. And he had a confidence about his throws when he was throwing the ball. He wasn't kind of second guessing himself. He was making the decision. He was really putting a bit of power on it. There was a few that weren't actually caught by receivers, and I thought it was down to the fact that maybe he had too much pace on them. Maybe they surprised the wide receivers just a little bit. But I think there was a lot of positives for the Browns coming out of that game. But what the pre-season started now, there's a lot of different things that'll come out, and just can't wait now for week 1 of the NFL season to get here.
Yeah, everyone's on that now. It's like we've got football. I said top of the show, as exciting as it is to get the football back, it's hard. You can't really read too much into these pre-season games.
No.
You can get maybe after about, I don't know, the third game. It's tough to really judge people on 2 or 3 series. I know I've maybe ripped into a couple of people. I suppose it's easy at times to highlight the negative, isn't it? And I think we get carried away, not helped by the media as well, because they'll jump with these headlines and sort of stir up and create controversy a little more as well.
No, there's very, very true. But I guess some of the rookies, when they come in, and that, it's the first real chance you've got to see of them stepping onto the NFL field and how they handle themselves, and how they just take care of the situation. Some players will thrive in it, and some players you'll know instantly that it.
Oh, are you still there? I think you seem to have dropped off there. Damn, Colm, if you can, mate, give us a ring back. For some bizarre reason, we lost your call. I have no idea what happened there. I apologise in advance if you can't. Colm, we've got 5 minutes left, so if you can get back, mate, give us a quick bell. Beyond that, I appreciate the call. We had another call. That's 2 out of 2. So right then, where was I with the not so great 8? That was it. NFC North, I think I'd mentioned. Where was I? Yeah, I'd picked the Vikings basically because everyone else had got way too much firepower for the rest of the league. However, there is a bright side here. You've got North Turner coming over. Should make the most out of Kyle Rudolph, which I feel the Vikings sort of realised that, and Rudolph signed a big contract prior before him potentially having a breakout season. Right then, so I'm sort of thrown off now. So we've done the NFC North. Right, where are we? Yeah, Cowboys fans, NFC East. Let's get this one out the way. You guys all know this is coming. Oh, phone's ringing again. Hopefully it's... Hello, is that Colm?
That is, yeah.
I'd have no idea what happened there. Was that your end or mine?
It was my end, actually, and you won't believe what actually just happened. I've up a draft here. I'm drafting one of the Overtime Ireland fantasy teams here at the moment, and it came up that my pick was on the clock, and for whatever reason, I'm phoning you off a Skype line. Whatever reason, it disconnected me. So I don't know what happened, but I just made my 2 picks and back-to-back picks. So I had a grand old call and Alshon Jeffrey. So
it's good. It adds for live drama. It keeps me on my toes. I've been a stumbling fool earlier on. I've now dealt with a dropped call. So one day I'll maybe get this down to a T. I got like 3 minutes left, Colm. Anything else that's sort of taken your eye during this first week of pre-season? Any standouts, any disappointments, or just anything in general, really?
Well, I think before I came on, I heard you mentioning the situation with the quarterback down in Houston with Ryan Fitzpatrick and what's all going on there. But I think that's one of the biggest actual on-field things to take away from the action. And I don't know, you can really see now why Andre Johnson didn't want to play after they didn't take a quarterback higher in the draft.
Yeah, it's a big problem down there. The defence is going to be absolutely outstanding. And as I mentioned, Fitzpatrick's been on the decline since the Bills gave him that $50-odd million deal a few years ago. But then again, there was some highlights because he was with the Titans last year, and he come in for
I actually thought in spots last year when Locker was out injured that he delivered. You know what you're getting from him. He's gonna. And like when he's playing to his best, he's probably in the kind of 14 to 20 range. In the
he's not too bad.
He's never going to be a top quarterback, but at the same time, there's a lot worse quarterbacks in the league than him. And I think that he has some of the tools there, but I don't think that he's like Johnson's probably looking at he only has a few years left, and he's kind of wanting to try and win a Super Bowl or that now. And I don't think he's going to do that with Ryan Fitzpatrick, but. You can see why the Texans done it from their point of view. They're maybe looking a few more years down the line and didn't want to pass up on Clowney, but it's really tough to see what's going to happen there. But I can't see anything other than them sticking with Fitzpatrick. I think it was a case of where maybe they didn't want to take in a rookie and have him struggle. We've seen what happened with Carr when he was with the Houston Texans and when they started up, and they might have been thinking about that if they'd again somebody and he gets battered in his first year and his confidence is down and all this sort of stuff. They might have been just thinking about more long term and maybe having a veteran like Fitzpatrick in there just to try and tide it over. But as we mentioned, with the preseason games, he's only after coming in. He's getting the playbook down and all. So maybe as 2 or 3 more games that maybe it'll come along a little bit. But it wasn't impressive anyway for the Texans, and I think they're going to be relying a lot on that defense this year to see where they can get, if they can get up near 8-8 or anywhere further than that. Yeah,
that's very true. And with that point, Colm, I'm going to have to be, for the second week running, that rude host that has to cut this call short. I've got about 50-odd seconds left. And next week, ring in a little earlier and hit us up on Twitter and we'll have a little natter and we'll leave that thought, really. The Texans, bit of a quarterback issue there. So, Colm, thanks for ringing in, mate. And I'll catch up with you afterwards. Thanks, mate.
Thanks.
Okay, bye. Right, folks, I am scrambling towards the end of the show here as the wife walks in and gives me a rather funny look. It's rather off-putting, if I'm honest. But yeah, that's the show done and dusted. We will catch you next week. Apologies for the quick closure. Until then, hustle hit and never quit.
Thank you for tuning into today's show. Unable to listen live? We've got that covered. Simply search the Zone Coverage Football Show in either iTunes or Stitcher Radio. And don't forget to subscribe. All our shows and details on how to call into the show can be found on the website www.zonecoveragefootballshow.com.